Privet, it's me again, Jonathan, and wanted to show you guys a few more examples and also go over the exercises that are on my website, Atavist. So let me go ahead and get that started for you guys. All right, so we had a couple, let me do this really quickly. Okay. We had a couple different examples on that I wanted to go over, so let's start with this one. Jane rolled the ball down the hill. The ball rolled Jane down the hill. Okay, so in English, if you laughed at this, that means that you are accustomed to English grammar, which, as I've explained before, does a sort of a left to right situation. Again, we're used to reading left to right, which also means that we're used to looking at grammar from left to right. It's kind of the way English works, not the way that Russian works. In any case, that means that if we were to go through our sentence and dissect it, we would have the verb rolled, Jane as the subject, and the ball as the direct object. So I can do this real quick. Okay. And the same would be this case here. Going by left to right order, we have subject, verb, direct object, subject, verb, direct object. And it's funny. Clearly we know that Jane is most likely the person performing the action. So a Russian native speaker might look at this sentence and not laugh at it, might not think it's even funny, because you might have something like this in Russian to maybe emphasize the word ball. Let's say that's what you want to do. In Russian, there isn't any reason to do left to right unless you just want to. It's not necessary because it's built into the grammar and into the word endings. So you don't have any sort of a structure per se that you necessarily need to follow, which is really cool. That means that in Russian you have poetic license that is not funky looking all the time, but poetic license, and it's naturally built into the language. To me, that makes it really beautiful. It might make it a little more complicated to read sometimes, because you kind of have to do some of this extra work to think, well, wait a minute, like if you were to do it up here, like, wait a minute, this is actually the subject, and wait a minute, this is actually the direct object, right? So you might have to do some of that extra work to figure that out, but it also is one of the reasons that we can rhyme things so well with Russian. So our songs are very well written and all sorts of things like that. So it's really cool to me. Anyway, that's the other thing. Going back to our examples. So the same logic that I just mentioned works with these. John kicked Bob. Bob kicked John. Okay. In either case, the verb is kicked, right? But if we look at these, we only know in English who kicked whom, like how I used whom there. It's kind of like my thing. Anyway, we only know who kicked whom because of English left to right order. So we know that this is the subject and this is the direct object, but that's because of English order. Right? If we were to look at the sentence itself, simply grammatically and looking at the words, the verb kicked could be applied to Bob or to John, right? And so that's why the next sentence works as well, right? There's nothing funny about it. It just makes sense. Sorry, I was blowing something off the screen. That being said, in Russian, this right here wouldn't be a problem. It would be understood based off of the endings of the words, what was what, regardless of how everything was worded. I'm trying to get that kind of, trying to make sure that we kind of really get that, we understand that. Word order is not important in Russian, like it is in English. So I can write that down real quick. And just for anyone who is interested, the term for this word order in English is syntax. The syntax in English is left to right, and based off of the syntax, we can figure out what the subject, verb, and direct objects are, and kind of do some of what we would call dissecting with the sentences, looking for all the little terms and little things that make the sentence what it is. And if that syntax is not being followed, so if we have something like me kick John ball, we don't know what's going on, right? There you go. Me kick John ball it doesn't match any sort of a syntax that we have. It doesn't match any verb, subject stuff. There's really nothing we can understand about this thing. This right here, we know that in all ways this is kind of incorrect. So let's do that. What else do I want to go over? Oh yeah. So now let's go ahead and go over those exercises. And here we go. So number 1, I love God. Okay, we're trying to figure out whether these are grammatically correct or not. So for number 1, we're looking for the subject, for the verb, sorry, we have love. The subject, who or what loves, is I. And whom or what do I love? God, direct object. So as of right now, this also follows left to right, so this is correct. Okay. I'm switching one. God loves me. So there we go. So this one also follows left to right order, so we are okay. So I'll put little check marks on the side right there. You love God. Same thing, verb here. Notice that this time there's no S, so that probably means that this is going to be our subject and this is going to be our direct object. It follows the left to right order, so we are good. All right, number 4. So it looks like the similar situation. We have the verb here. We have an S, which means that we're going to look for something on this side that matches that. In this case, we do have it. We have God, and we have the direct object. Follows left to right order. So we are awesome. Okay. No, we're good. Okay, so I mentioned subject and object pronouns in a previous video. So let's see how we understand this. So I shouldn't even have to look at anything else other than the actual pronouns that I see. He is always a subject pronoun, her is always a direct object pronoun. Technically, it wouldn't matter which direction these are in. Although in English, we follow left to right order most of the time, and this is in order, so we are good. She loves him. Again, similar situation, verbs there. She is a subject pronoun, him is a direct object pronoun. We're following left to right order, so we are awesome. God love you. Okay, so this one might be a little trickier for us. Let's see. We have a verb there. Okay, now normally I'd want to look over here, but we don't have an S here, right? We're missing that S. So this can't be the subject. Technically, you can work here, so we'll do that, and we'll make this the direct object. Okay, so it follows grammatical order, but it doesn't follow left to right order. So we can kind of give it like a, but because it works in Russian, we'll make it like a yeah, it works. Okay, so if that makes any sense to you guys, again, there's no S here, so this can't be the subject. Okay, let's try the next one. You loves God. Okay, so verb is here. We have an S here, which means you can't be the subject. but this can be the subject, and this is the direct object. So again, left to right order is not being followed, but we have all the right pieces here. So this is sort of like one of those things that starts out like that, but then kind of turns into this. And we just right here, good in Russian. Okay, I like smiley faces. Number 9, me and my wife both love singing. All right, so with this one, we want to look for the verb. So I have love. Okay, there's no S, which means that we have something that should be either third person singular, which we haven't talked about, or third person plural, and we kind of have a plural thing going on here. Ideally speaking, me and my wife should be the subject. So if you guys underlined that, then you're good. However, and then also this is the direct object. Okay, now we have a sort of a problem here. This is a common phrase. We say this all the time. I say this all the time even. I'm not going to deny it. This technically is incorrect because this is a direct object pronoun. So it should actually be, because that's a subject pronoun. So the correct sentence should be my wife and I, or I and my wife. This first one is more appropriate simply because that's a convention in English that we use. Okay, and then finally, number 10, she and Jeff are great friends. All right. So we have are as our verb. Subject, are means that we should have plural, so we have both of those. And great friends. Ironically enough, this isn't a direct object. We're not going to talk about this until a little bit later on, but I'll go ahead and just do this anyway for now. And I'll kind of put a question mark here. So this will be something we talk about, if not the next lesson, maybe a little bit later on. But anyway, so we have something here that might look a little funky to us. Again, I might say, yeah, like her and Jeff are great friends, but technically this is correct because it's a subject pronoun. So this sentence is 100% correct. And I'll go ahead and put a little thing there. All right, so that's my video. How did you guys do on these? Any questions? Any comments? You know, like this kind of stuff going on. Okay, if you have this or this, let me know down here. And of course, again, you can email me by clicking on the link on the Atavist website, which is my best friend right now. I love it a lot. So there you go. If you guys have any questions, hit me up, and we'll go through them together. All right, and then until next time.